So, Truth to Tweet shares this. And this is concerning Liz Warren. So, Liz Warren has at times spoken out about big tech, and she actually has said some okay things at times. She has said that she wants to break up Facebook and companies like that, which I think is a good idea. I think that should happen. Liz Warren kind of talks a good game, and then we'll see how she feels next week. Bernie Sanders actually has laid out a plan to break up those companies. He also has a plan to keep the internet free and open by providing high-speed internet for all. He has a plan for that, which would be city-owned internet all across the country, which, of course, I am very much in support of. But here you have the ongoing debate about big tech's role in misinformation. And, it's the opinion of this show that a lot of people are getting it wrong. And what they call for is Facebook and Twitter and places like that to police what is and isn't free speech and police what is and isn't legitimate political information. And the idea that you're calling on Silicon Valley, computer programmers or whatever else, to decide what is and isn't legitimate political speech is very odd and very dangerous. They are not qualified to make those judgment calls. You know who is qualified to make those judgment calls? First of all, we the people. Second of all, a constitutional lawyer who specializes in free speech issues. When you have free speech violations, that's the only time something should be taken off of Facebook or social media, when someone clearly violates free speech laws. Then and only then. In every other case, if they're not, and I know that's not the case right now because Facebook is a private company, so they can just have people adhere by their community guidelines. What I entertain is that for the betterment of the public good, these things should be broken up, designated public utilities, and operated as such. That's what should happen to Facebook and Twitter because they are the modern day public square, and Google and YouTube. That's what should happen. But here's what Elizabeth Warren is calling for instead, and I think she misses the mark here. Elizabeth Warren calls for tough penalties for spreading misinformation online. The Democratic presidential candidate said she'll work to fight disinformation aimed at her campaign, as well as at her opponents. Now that's ironic, isn't it? Isn't that ironic? False information like claiming somebody said something at a dinner party that they didn't say. False information like that, Liz Warren. False information like lying on an application about what your background is, about what your ethnic background is, and then taking that position from somebody who actually has that ethnic background, and then continuing to lie for years. Are those the kind of lies? Saying that somebody was cheated and then backpedaling on it. Saying you support Medicare for all and then waffling on that. Is that the type of misinformation you're going to fight, Liz Warren? Well, let's go to the article. Senator Elizabeth Warren on Wednesday proposed creating civil and criminal penalties for knowingly spreading false information online about when and how to vote in U.S. elections. The Democratic presidential candidate also called on tech companies to take real steps to fight disinformation. So here's her quote. I'm also calling on tech companies like Facebook, Twitter, and Google to take real steps right now to fight disinformation spread on their platforms. Something they're completely unqualified to do. The safety of our democracy is more important than shareholder dividends and CEO salaries. The safety of our democracy is more important than letting a bunch of Silicon Valley billionaires dictate what is and isn't free speech. Free speech is way more important than that, Liz Warren. You're asking people to do something they're completely unqualified to do. All right, so Warren has vowed to break up big tech companies. Well, that's a good thing, like Facebook, Google, and Amazon. If she becomes president, arguing that they have too much power, they stifle competition and hurt small businesses. Well, that's true. She's also been a vocal critic of Facebook's decision to let politicians lie in ads. Now, this part's interesting. In October, she ran an ad on the social network to make her point. It deliberately contained a falsehood that Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg had endorsed Donald Trump for president. Okay. It's funny here. People who aren't fans of Tulsi Gabbard, or maybe you're just fans of Hillary Clinton, are saying, what a waste of money that Tulsi Gabbard is suing Hillary Clinton. You want to talk about a waste of money. And I know it probably wasn't a lot of money, but still, Liz Warren purposely made a fake ad saying Mark Zuckerberg was endorsed. Which, first of all, who gives a shit who Mark Zuckerberg votes for? Who cares? Why would you care who Mark Zuckerberg votes for? I don't give a shit. Do you give a shit? Why would anyone give a shit? And second of all, what a waste of resources. What a dumb way to make a point. Oh, I'm going to make the guy that runs this site, I'm going to say he endorsed somebody he didn't, and that'll prove a point. Prove a point of what? That this is political theater? That you're doing this to appear as some kind of outsider? Come on, Liz Warren. And no wonder Mark Zuckerberg's not a fan of Liz Warren. I mean, apparently he's not. Apparently he had some meeting where he said she was a threat. He's hoping she's not the nominee. You know, whether that's, you know, I mean, right now, like, that was hearsay. We covered this on the show when it happened. But this is such a dumb action. Oh, look what I did. I'm standing up to big tech by deliberately making a fake ad where I'm saying someone endorsed somebody they didn't endorse. I'm proving my point here. And the solution to this problem, I like how the solution isn't, well, maybe politicians should attempt to be honest in their advertising. Maybe the solution is you would never just make an ad saying somebody endorsed someone they didn't endorse. The solution is we let Silicon Valley billionaires decide what is and isn't free speech. And then we impose penalties on people, quote, penalties, if they deliberately spread false information. Well, what's false information? We'll be the judge of that. That doesn't sound red flaggy at all. That doesn't sound right. So she completely misses this. And it's, I don't think it's totally like she just doesn't see that. This isn't, and look, I know the issue of free speech is a very complex one, and there's a lot of factors at play. But the solution is not that terribly complicated in principle. These companies are a modern day town square. They are part of our polis. They are part of how we exchange ideas and information. They need to be treated as a public utility and seen as such under the law. And it needs to be owned and operated. And when there are issues of free speech that arise, the free speech laws of the United States should be followed. And I know, well, Facebook's a global company. How do you do that? Well, they started here in the United States. So as far as information pertinent to the United States is concerned, those are the laws that should be followed domestically. End of story. And they should be designated utilities. That's what needs to happen. All these other proposals out there that, oh, we'll just gut an act of the Communication Act that makes these companies liable for what people post and publish. Well, that's a horrible idea, because now what they'll do is they'll just overly censor people because they don't want to get fined. Oh, I know. We'll just let Silicon Valley billionaires decide what is and isn't free speech. That's a horrible idea too, because that's asking them to do something they're completely unqualified to do. So there's one solution, and it's very apparent. Will it be easy to unroll all that? No. Will there be a transition period? Of course there will. But that's the solution. And every other proposal out there has been absolutely horrible. That executive order Donald Trump was proposing, which was going to unravel the part of the Communication Act, I believe it was Section 230, that allows people to post whatever they want free and publicly, and a platform can't be held liable, because that's the way you assure an open platform for people. That was a horrible idea that every civil liberties attorney in the country was like, whoa, that's horrible. That's taking a bad situation, making it infinitely worse. Similarly, you know, it's also taking a bad situation and making it worse. What Liz Warren's saying, where let's just let Facebook and Silicon Valley decide what is and isn't legitimate political information, something they're completely unqualified to do. And they're likely to abuse that power. You think if someone posts an honest ad about something that would affect their bottom line, they're going to let it slide? So Liz Warren got the right idea about breaking these companies up, but some of what she's calling for here, very concerning, and it's very ironic that what she's been doing as of recent, she's wagging her fingers at other campaigns for not being honest. She's calling for honesty amidst campaigns in light of what she's done as of recent. Very ironic. All right. So, who shared that one? Truth to Tweet. Yes. Thank you for sharing that. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on?